just
follow along. Shopping at Safeway.
Here we are at Safeway. Shopping at Safeway.
Almost ran into the wine. Crash.
We had just come from Barnes & Noble bookstore, and we were there for about 4 hours. This white-haired guy had this kind of fat ass of a white-haired man, kind of whitish gray hair.
Mm-hmm.
We saw that same guy the last time we were over there at the Barnes & Noble bookstore.
Last Friday.
Yeah, last week when we were there before. And
he was acting like he knows us.
the guy was acting like he knows us.
And we all.
But of course, in all truth, the asshole knows nothing. But first time he walked up to Larry, and Larry has a book about the Enneagram, and walked up to Larry and asked him, well, do you have some expertise in this? And how did you reply?
And I said, no, I'm just learning about it.
Which is a good answer, because it's none of his business in the first place. The man is not sincere. He did it again tonight, same man. He came to me and asked, saw all my books sitting in front of me, as I'm sitting harmlessly, as I do in all of these coffee shops and restaurants all around town here. In this particular instance, at Barnes & Noble bookstore, the same man came up to me and asked me, do you mind my asking what you are reading? What is that you are reading? May I ask you what you are reading? And I said, no, you can't. Talk to him. Talk to Larry. Which is to say, what business is it of yours? He was asking me almost like a police officer. So I said, no, you can't ask me.
Well, maybe not like a police officer, but like you owed it to him to give him an answer.
That socialist attitude, like I owed it to him to give him an answer.
Yeah.
Which I do not. And of course, what I was reading was views from the real world. So he sat down just only 10 feet away from me. And as an experiment, I started talking aloud with Larry what I was reading from the book. And I was going into the idea written in views about Weigerjiff, about awakening, death, and rebirth. I was saying it openly, strongly, and loudly enough for him to hear. In other words, I was answering his question. And it was a process for me to see if he was really sincere. So I started reading some of the material from the chapter itself and from the book itself, and about awakening, death, and rebirth. And then all of a sudden, a couple of people walk in, friends of his. He initiated a conversation with them. He didn't have to do that. If he really was sincere and wanting to know the answer to his question, what is this? What are these books you are reading? I was answering his question right there for him to hear, and even pointing at him at certain moments, and saying such things as "and to answer your question," and then reading some of the material from the book itself. This was the question that he asked. I was answering his question. Then all of a sudden he initiated a conversation with these people that walked in, and no longer listening to me. All of that was directed to him in answering his question. So what I got to see from that was the man was insincere. He was behaving, that was the proof, he was behaving like a police officer. So it was like heading something off at the pass. It was insincerity on his part. He was not sincere in terms of really wanting to know, in terms of substance, in terms of what it was that I was reading and studying and the books in front of me. And that turned out to be an interesting process.
Yeah.
And in this work, it is what is called clever man's way. It seemed like there were several off-duty officers that were there at the bookstore. Look at this, what I'm wearing. Now, this is something I found lying on the ground, and it looks like gang wear. See the skull and crossbones. That's profiling again. So here all these people come to check me out, like everywhere else I go around town here. Profiling. And this has been going on for four and a half years.
Yeah.
Oh, for nothing.
Right.
And Larry and I discussed openly for any and all of the year, discussing ideas of Saint Muhammad, reading from the Quran.
And about the history of Saint Muhammad and how he managed to conquer Mecca.
Yeah, and Saint Muhammad, as I was telling Larry there at the bookstore openly, or any to hear who cared to, that he didn't write anything down. It was the people who followed him who wrote everything down and became what is called the Quran. It was the same with the Quran. It was the same with Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ didn't write anything down. He didn't write a single word down on paper. It was people who followed him. Jesus Christ, his example, his teaching was by example of his life and the events that happened all the way to the crucifixion. He didn't write any of that down. Same with Saint Muhammad. He didn't write anything down. And we're saying this all openly to answer the man's question. And all the time he's engaged in conversation with someone else. And when Larry and I really got loud with this conversation, he all of a sudden got up and got farther away. We're answering his question. And yet he showed his insincerity. He went to another part of the bookstore to talk to someone else. So it was a process to see if the man was really sincere. Did he really want to know what those books are, the substance of what the material was sitting in front of me on the table? Did he really want to know the answer to that question?
Yeah.
It was something else. It was like a socialist on some line of cause, crusade, an agenda. And people here in this town who read our work over the internet, and they show us this in all kinds of ways.